Hi everyone, it's Ben from Trekitt and we're in the Irongate Bothy again today to give you a little bit of an inside look into the Scarpa Rush family. Haven't quite got everything here that Scarpa offers with the Rush range, but everything I'm saying will apply to most, if not all, of the range. So the Scarpa Rush range has both shoes and boots in it, in both men's and women's. They do also do kids' boots as well, but we're not really going to discuss those today because they're really small and, kids' boots. With the Scarpa Rush range, Scarpa have designed boots and shoes that should be practical for most activities. And we'll, over the course of this video, go a little bit more in depth into what they're made from, what we like about them, where we really see them being used, and any specific features that are unique to the Scarpa Rushes. Stay tuned. So first off, what are the Rush family of footwear? So the Rush family are a collection of both shoes and boots in men's and women's that Scarpa have designed to be very sort of UK capable footwear. So they've got nice lugged soles on them, offer great support, and they're still nice and lightweight, but offer good durability as well. So they're really the sort of footwear that you can use for most outdoor activities in the UK, whether that be general walking, taking the dog out, to slightly longer hikes, maybe even a little bit of light scrambling, although you might find the limitations of them when you start to go up a grade in the scrambling, things like that. But Scarpa have things further up their range that are a little bit more suitable to that. Over the course of this video, we'll mainly be focusing on the men's or women's, because they're both the same, just smaller, Rush Trek, rather than the shoes, which are the Rush Trails. Clues sort of in the name there where you sort of expect to be using them. But most of the features, apart from obviously the higher cuff, will remain the same between the shoe and the boot. So first off, what are they made from? So all of the range made from a combination of suede and fabric in the uppers, which keeps them nice and lightweight but still incredibly durable. You also get the benefits of suede, which is essentially a leather, so that has natural water repellent properties to it, but it keeps these boots nice and durable without getting them too heavy. So in the boots you get a suede around the majority of the boot here, and then you get a fabric that runs up the tongue and around the top cuff here, just because it's a little bit more compliant and helps keep the weight down a little bit where you don't necessarily need quite as much durability. That upper also has then a reinforced toe rand around here that's on all of the footwear. So that toe rand there is just to help with a little bit of bump protection and also just reinforce the toe a little bit more against bumps and scrapes, things like that. Moving to the liner of the boot and the membrane, all of these are Gore-Tex footwear. So they use Gore-Tex extended comfort membranes on the inside of them, which means that they are reliably waterproof and breathable, as we know and love with Gore-Tex, which is great for those sort of UK conditions, which are usually a little bit wetter and boggier. You can reliably take these out and ensure that you're not going to get wet feet. So all of these boots and shoes do have a chemical DWR that's been impregnated into the outer, which helps repel water, which in turn keeps the boot breathable. Now, in order to keep that boot breathable, you do need to maintain that DWR, and that does require a little bit of care and maintenance for these. Footwear care is a pretty simple process, but it's worth keeping on top of to keep the boot in prime condition, because if you don't reproof your boots or shoes, then they will end up getting quite dirty and water will soak into the outer rather than sort of beading off. And at that point, you've then got a barrier for any internal moisture, so any sweat that you're producing, to then get out. So then you can have the feeling of having slightly soggy or wet feet. So it is worth maintaining these boots, same as anything that we stock, to keep them performing at their best. So moving over to the outsole of the boot and then the midsole as well, because they're kind of integral to keeping your feet planted on the ground. Scarpa have chosen to use their own rubber on the bottom of this. So instead of using Vibram, which they still use on some of the other range, they've played around with a Presa sole unit on this particular range of boots, which has allowed them to do something a little bit funky with some of the things that are going on with this particular footwear. So in general, you've got a really good grippy compound that still has good durability. You've got a really nice heel brake that is featured across all of them, so it's really good for descending, things like that, so you get a nice bite when you're going downhill. And this rubber compound has just been designed by Scarpa specifically for this range of boots. Moving beyond that, so Scarpa using that Presa system, really good. They've incorporated that with an EVA cushioned midsole, so you get a little bit more cushioning but also some support, and that is in combination with a TPU frame that is adding a little bit more stability to all of this footwear. So you get a little better torsional rigidity, things like that in the boot that just keeps everything nice and planted, so you can feel really confident in this particular footwear. In combination with that, they use the interactive kinetic system that is easy to see on any of these with the contrast colour on the sole. So same with the shoes as well. So the 5 contact areas here have different shock absorbing properties to them. So they're designed to interact when you're walking. So when you're planting your heel down and then moving, planting the heel down and then moving into the forefoot. So they allow a little bit more shock absorption and also, again, help to keep your foot a little bit more planted. So it's quite clever tech that's gone on there. And that's part of the reason that Scarpa chose to use their own sole on this particular boot, because it means that they can play around with it a little bit and get things finely tuned to this model. And in all honesty, it seems to work rather well. Moving on to the features, this is where the two will differ slightly, mainly because with the boot, you've obviously got that cuff, so there's a little bit more protection around the ankle, a little bit more stability and support, but otherwise the feature set between the shoes and the boots in both the men's and women's remains the same. So apart from the features we've already discussed, which are the main highlights of that outsole and the grippiness of it, and then the waterproof membrane in all of these, the other features that you get are you get this 3D cuff up here on the boots. So they've padded this in sections that is kind of hard to show on camera, but inside you've got padded sections that sit nicely around the Achilles and then around your ankle bones. And this is then a nice soft molded foam so that it's really comfortable to wear and hopefully alleviates any pressure points. They've got the similar padded tongue on the shoe model, but obviously you don't have that higher cuff, so you get just a little bit different padded cushioning around the heel here. Other than that, on the back of the boots and shoes, you get a little pull tab on the heel so that you can pull the boots on or off. And it's just about big enough for a single finger to get in there to do that. And then that honestly is about it for the features, other than what I've already discussed in how the boots are made. They're just designed to be a reliable, lightweight, waterproof and supportive piece of footwear. That's really all there is to it. So moving on to how they fit. This is where things do differ slightly, especially between the men's and women's models. So the shoes and boots have the same last to them, so the same shape, so they will, in theory, fit the same. They will feel a little bit different because one's got a high cuff, one doesn't. We are also missing the ladies' shoe at the moment. We haven't got any in stock just yet, but they will be arriving imminently, so we can get those in, and there is ladies' fit example. But when it comes to the fit across the entire range, they are a little bit wider than average, especially in sort of the forefoot and midfoot. So they're a little bit broader than average, middling in terms of volume, so you won't get a really deep foot in them, but you will get a slightly wider than average foot in them. So they will fit quite a lot of people's feet, especially because they've got a nice taper into the heel, so the heel feels nice and snug and sportive. Unfortunately, if you're at the sort of extremes of the fit range with your feet, so if you've got particularly narrow and low volume feet, so narrow and low volume, like myself, they don't really fit you that well. We can play around with the volume a little bit and work with that, but essentially these boots are a little bit too wide for me. There are a few other models out there that will work better for people with slightly narrower feet, and equally if you've got particularly wide feet or if you've got quite square toes. So these boots do have a little bit of taper to the toes, which is sort of fairly classic in Italian brands of footwear. So these you might struggle a little bit, but again, there are other models that will suit that. And that's why we really recommend, if possible, coming in to see us at our Hereford Service Centre, or at least asking for some advice on a footwear fitting. Because we can take a look at your feet and double check to see what's going on in terms of the width, length and shape of your feet and say whether or not something like these will work. It also gives you an opportunity to try them on and potentially some other models that might work a little bit better for your feet. But in general, slightly wider than average, middling volume and nice fit in the heel. The only major difference then is the ladies fit, which apart from coming in smaller sizes, is a little bit narrower and a little bit lower in volume and also slightly smaller in heel. So essentially it's just a smaller dimensioned boot compared to the men's boot and shoe version. So it should work out right based on the sizing, that the fit is similar. It's just obviously a little bit smaller because the boots are smaller. Okay, so that about wraps up the look into the Scarpa Rush family, whether that be the Rush Trail shoes or the Rush Trek boots. If you'd like to shop our full range of size and colours, Harry will pop a link down below, and he's now telling me it's going to be on screen. He did this, which I'm assuming means on screen. He's nodding. But if you'd like to find out a little bit more about them, you can check on our website there, which will be up on the screen. See, I did it that time. Other than that, that's about it for the Scarpa Rush family. So I'd like to thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.